For somebody who doesn't know you, like, how did you get into building this massive software company?
I felt like I really understood how to real estate invest and wholesale, and the whole batch brand came from us kind of trying to solve some of the problems we had in our real estate investing operation.
So frequently you hear the same story, right? Which is like, I was just trying to solve a problem for myself or for somebody I was close to, and then it just kind of evolves into this thing that you never thought it would be.
I think a lot more people are wanting to be, just an influencer in general, or doing the drop shipping, or there's always like a shiny object. But
Yeah.
if you're going to do any of those things, I think real estate's the most valuable thing because it's a great way to create wealth.
If you were to ever sell, what would you try to sell for? Welcome back to another episode of the Austin is Zaback Show. Today we've got a good buddy of mine and somebody who's very successful, somebody that you're going to want to pay attention to the very end. Guy by the name of Jesse Burrell. You might be familiar with Batch Leads. He built that company amongst many other things. And, we're talking about a massive SaaS software company, right? For arguably, multiple 8, potentially 9-figure companies. So, Jesse, I appreciate you being on the show, man. I'm excited to dive into your story and how you did it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me in.
Of course, dude. We had a great conversation today before the podcast with some of my team. I know you're venturing into, PPL. You're really doing a lot of stuff in the world of real estate and wholesaling and investing, and you're providing a lot of value to people, and I'm excited to kind of peel back that onion. I know you have some big clients. We're about to be a client of yours, so we'll kind of peel that back in a little while. Real quick before we do, for somebody who doesn't know you, like, how did you get into the building this massive software company? I mean, like, did you wholesale? Like, where did you get into the kind of the world of real estate?
Yeah, so real estate was just a happy accident, to be honest with you. I was basically going to school and I wanted to be a golf instructor. And I soon realized in college that it's going to take a lot of time to make a lot of money. And my friend Danielle Kroll, she started basically flipping homes with some investor out of California. I came on and I was basically an acquisition rep for that company in 2013. So that was back in Arizona when you could find pre-foreclosures, short sailed homes, a lot of stuff on the MLS. And my job all day was just to look for fix and flips for this guy. So we weren't wholesaling per se, but I was just helping him acquire properties. Fast forward, me and Danielle graduate, Danielle and Jared become wholesale partners. And then we start wholesaling and flipping ourselves. So it really stemmed from the wholesaling and flipping side of things. And then Danny and Jared, they are now married, but started dating, and that created some friction, I would say, in the partnership. And they kind of wanted to do some of their own stuff. I wanted to do it my way. So I went off wholesale and flipped on my own for about 1.5 2 years, and just wasn't really happy with the systems and processes and stuff in place to scale my outbound operation. And then that's when I met Annie and Evo at a mastermind. And slowly the whole batch brand came from us kind of trying to solve some of the problems we had in our real estate investing operation.
Yeah. And what year would that have been when you were doing like the wholesale and flipping and all that, like when you were doing your own thing?
So 2015 to 2020.
Okay.
But we started batch skip tracing, which was our first product, in 2018. And then slowly that just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we shut down the real estate arm probably the worst time possible, like March of 2020, before everything went absolutely chaotic. But our business went, the batch business went chaotic. We really we felt like we were competing against our customer because we were in quite a few markets and we're a pretty big wholesale operation. I was like, if we're going to grow this company, we need to be serving, our customer base, not serving and competing against them. And we just really went all in on trying to create a really awesome software company for, real estate investors and agents. And
clearly it worked out, right?
It's done well, yes.
Yeah, which we'll dive into in a little while. You don't, I'm not a judgmental guy, but you don't look like a tech software guy, right? So, how does a guy like you, get into that industry? Because there's probably people watching right now, right? That, I think we go into like, for example, like me, I'm not a tech, I wouldn't know the first thing about building a software company. So was it Annie and Evo? Was it the relationship that you were able to build and then you were the frontward facing guy? How did that all kind of piece together and come together to be what it is today?
Yeah. I mean, me and you are one of the same, to where we're both the visionaries. So I was coming up with these ideas of what we needed to do and how we could do it and how we could go to market with it. it was Evo that was really on the technical side. And then Annie was the one that was operationalizing everything on the HR side, the finance side, the onboarding, the new employees as they come on side. And I was really thinking of the holistic approach, very involved on what we were building. Obviously, I don't know how to build that, and I can't write code or do anything like that. So Evo, he had no background in it. He's just truly a brilliant person.
Yeah.
And we were kind of just building the plane as we're flying it, to be honest with you. And, being our own customer those first couple of years, and then being very close with a lot of the big coaches and influencers in the space that were using us and understanding their students and what they wanted. We just really listened to our customer voice and continued to build on what people were asking for. And we're still trying to do that today. Hence the pay per lead model and the batch leads plus that's coming out, and trying to diversify into how people are wanting to, ingest their leads today as well.
Yeah, with all the predictive stuff you're going to be rolling out here in a little while. We'll dive into that in a little while. I want to talk about the evolution of, like, you started batch leads in 2018, right?
Yeah.
And then why batch leads, or batch skip, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, batch skip.
So skip tracing. Why skip tracing before anything else? Like, what was it about skip tracing in particular when you looked at that, and here you are running this operation of your own, why skip tracing to kind of start out, if you will?
I lost, at that time, a lot of people were using TLO. Like, I got banned from TLO, and I was exclusively cold calling, and that's when texting was just getting started. I needed to go find new phone numbers, and Evo's like, hey, I found this new source. It's really cool. I'm having success with it. I started using it, getting a bunch of deals. Then I started telling some of my friends, and like, well, I want to buy that from you. Like, can you sell it to me? And then it just kind of evolved into batch skip tracing, and then it evolved into our own proprietary algorithm and all these crazy things to make sure that we have the best, contact data in the nation if you want to get a hold of a homeowner. But it really started with just, I lost my source. I was looking, like, my acquisition guys were like, hey, we need leads. And it just started there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which is really cool, right? I love talking to entrepreneurs, because so frequently you hear the same story, right? Which is like, I was just trying to solve a problem for myself or for somebody I was close to, and then it just kind of evolves into this thing that you never thought it would be, right? Because, I can't imagine you ever thought you would own such a large company.
No. I never thought that was going to happen. It was very unintentional. We got very intentional quickly after, but it was just fun, and it's just been fun, and the journey's been pretty crazy, but it was really fun to where I felt like I really understood how to real estate invest and wholesale, and going into software and learning how, I didn't know what AE, which is an account executive, AM, CSM, like all these acronyms. I'm like, what are all these positions, and what do these people do? And me and Evo got a couple good mentors to really, like, help us and curve that learning quickly. And we were always aligned, and we also always understood our roles, and I think we just worked really well together, and we're also able to bring on some super talented people that helped us grow properly, especially on the engineering side. Early, we had really good data person, really good engineer that was able and had built out teams in the past, and they just thought what we're building was really cool and different, because at that time, and what our space is called is prop tech, property technology, there wasn't a lot of innovation there yet, especially servicing the wholesaler, real estate investor, and agent. And we just kind of were at the right place at the right time, and had a pretty good market fit for a while here now.
How many employees do you have now?
Today we have 170.
Wow.
175 maybe.
Yeah, incredible. Are a lot of them virtual?
Yeah, our most of our engineering team is in India. I think we have like employees in like 12 countries or something like that. And then, so most are virtual. We have, I think, like 70 in the States, and then about 100 overseas.
Talk to me about some of the challenges in scaling that. You talk about, like, the roles, for example, right? Like, you literally looking at these different job titles and saying, like, what do they even do for a living, right? Like, for your average person, scaling 175 employee operation is very far-fetched. So, like, what were some of the things, the roadblocks that you had to overcome to achieve that outcome?
Yeah, I think for someone that wants to scale a company, the best advice that I could give to you would be, I think the biggest mistakes we made was we could have hired a recruiter quicker We had multiple recruiters at one point when we were really scaling the company. And that was just a mistake. That wasn't me, Annie, and Evo's expertise. And we were just going and hiring people, through our network and so on and so forth. And just hiring professional, talented people, something we could have done a little bit quicker early. HR was the other thing. Like we could have beefed up our HR faster. And that's more just for processes and onboarding and making sure your employees are having that great experience as they're, coming into an organization and feeling comfortable. Not saying it was bad. It was just really streamlining it and making it an enjoyable experience. I think those are things that if you're going to scale, do it early, be willing to pay that money early, because it will set you up for success later on in your business.
Where did you find some of those phenomenal people that you're talking about? Like practically, were you hiring from, like, you said you had recruiters. So was it like, because I think a lot of people, including myself, struggle to hire great talent, right? Now I've gotten better at it over the years, and I have a big following on the internet, which doesn't hurt,
Yeah.
We hire a lot of people that way. But like, where do people hire people? I mean, you hear horror stories out there all the time. I talk to people every day that are like, where do I hire this guy? Where do I hire that guy? Do I go on Indeed? Do I go on ZipRecruiter? Do I like fill in the blank, right? Like, where have you found great talent over the years?
Indeed mostly. And honestly, the good recruiters, they're going to self-source in LinkedIn. So that's when you have a specific role. They're going to go try and take someone from another company or a similar company or even a competitor. Like, you want someone that has that industry experience in what you're looking for. So the best employees have came from that. And then the other great ones have came from those really high level people that I was talking about just a moment ago. Them having other high level people and really excited about what we're doing as a company and our culture. They've like our C-suite's really been recruited out through people bringing on other people saying, we're missing this position. I have someone that I've worked with in the past that would be a great fit here. And that's where like the real high position hires have came more from just referrals through the company, to be honest with you.
And those are the people that make the big difference, I feel like.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Like, they're really, at the end of the day, like, guys like you and me, I mean, we don't really build companies. I mean, the people build the company, right? Like, we might open the doors and piece it all together, if you will, and bring in the right people. But ultimately, the people that you're talking about, those are the people in the thick of it, scaling the actual operation of the company, right?
Yeah, and as we allude to back, me, Annie, and Eva hadn't done this before. We had to hire people that have done and have been with organizations that have done that. Because I've always been a small business owner, entrepreneur. I hadn't done it this way, so we had to hire the right people. Without my C-suite, I'm very confident we wouldn't be close to where we're at today if it was just me, Annie, and Evo trying to figure it out on our own. Like, I'm so grateful and blessed to have the team that I have around me.
Yeah, so cool. So let's dive into Batch a little bit. You went from skip tracing to, and obviously we kind of hinted at the fact that you're rolling out some of the PPL, some of the predictive stuff. What all do you guys do today? What are the different services that you offer?
Yeah, so we have our flagship, or our very first product, Batch Skip Tracing. That's where someone could just go upload a list, get contact information to reach out to homeowners.
So just to clarify on that, for anybody who for some reason might not know what skip tracing is, you just defined it. Maybe elaborate on that just a little more. What is skip tracing?
Yeah, so you'd upload a property address, and we'd return the homeowner's name, phone number, and email.
Okay, cool.
If they want to get in contact with them, and it's not just, do you want to sell your house? Do you want a new roof? Do you want to list your house? It could be an agent. It could be an investor.
Yeah.
It could be someone in home service as well. So there's a lot of different, customers that we have.
Yeah, for sure. I guess not to go off on a tangent because I want to know all the services that you offer, but how many of your clients would you say are even in real estate? I mean, is it
The majority?
Majority, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we do the majority of our marketing too, but you'll have a home. We're starting to branch into home services, and then we have quite a few agents as well. So, but like that real estate sphere,
Yeah.
Title companies use us as well. There's, but title companies are using us because they're giving that information to a realtor and
estate
investor.
agent, yeah.
So, same end customer.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so you do skip tracing. What else do you do?
And then batch leads, and that's what we've kind of talked about. That's where it's kind of like a all-in-one platform to where you could do a lot of things. That's where you could pull the list, you could skip trace there, you could comp the properties of houses that you're looking to get. You could do agent outreach, to where if you're trying to cultivate relationships with agents, we have the whole nation database to where you could kind of splice up that data and do some outreach there as well. You could send direct mail through there. You could click the dial. So if you want to, you could even call through there. It's really like the best way to explain it, because it could get complicated trying to talk to your viewers about it. For someone that's looking to do outreach to homeowners, it's a great tool to kind of do the lead generation there. And once that person becomes a lead, that's when you go put it into your CRM with your automations that you have to follow up and try and close the deal.
Got it. Okay. And then now you're getting into the PPL game. So talk to me a little bit about PPL.
Yeah. So that's where, Batch Leads is primarily for, doing outbound. Batch Leads Plus, which is the PPL, that's where we have our own nationwide brand to where we're actually going and getting, Google leads for you and sending them directly into your CRM, which is really cool. And we just launched it about 3 months ago, and a lot of happy customers, and that's starting to scale really quickly. A lot of people and a lot of the bigger investors like yourself, those are the type of leads that you're looking for right now.
Yeah, inbound versus outbound.
You want both, but a lot of people, we never offer that service, and people are wanting that service from us, and it's fun to, have a new product to sell. And I'm personally, as the CEO, on sales calls, selling it right now, making sure the customers are happy. When we're launching a new product, I'm very involved in that side. This was my idea. This was my baby. Not saying my team helped me actually have this, as you said, come to fruition, but I've been very involved in the beginning to make sure that, we're making sure that we're doing better than, our competitors out there.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think Google's so much better than like Meta and all that?
I mean, I was talking to my chief marketing officer yesterday, or chief growth officer, and he's like, in Facebook, in YouTube, you're putting something in front of someone, and they're just like, like, this is interesting, like, maybe I'll think about it. Someone is going on Google saying, I want to sell my house fast. That is a very different action that they're taking than something you'd be doing with, Facebook or YouTube or another channel like that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that at the end of the day, it might even be, it's a totally different human being, right? Like you're not, the guy who you're putting that ad in front of, it might be the same guy every so often, right? But like the guy you're putting the ad in front of on Meta, it's just like, you're trying to just, it's all timing. Right. It's like, hopefully they're, checking in on their friends to see what's going on, and they also want to sell.
Yep.
So they click my ad, right? But with Google, it's like, no, I know they want to sell.
Right.
It's just a matter, are they selling to me or are they selling to somebody else?
Right. Yeah. They're taking a proactive action to try and sell a property that they have. The other route, there is a lot of sales in the other way, but that you're going to have a lot more leads that you're going to have to go through to get deals rather than if you're going through Google. Sure.
Where do you see most wholesalers? Because I feel like you have a unique perspective on the industry now. To your point, you shut down your operation to serve the industry, right? And now you have relationships with everybody. Like, what are you seeing in the world of wholesaling and flipping and investing right now? Where are people kind of shifting? What are they doing? What types of marketing? Like, because I mean, the industry's evolved quite a bit, right? Like I got into wholesaling in 2014. Cody Sperber was my first kind of mentor. He eventually became my partner, right? You know the story.
Yep.
And I mean, back in the day, I mean, texting wasn't a thing. It was like ringless voicemail was like the coolest thing in the world, right? It was like, oh my gosh, we can leave a voicemail and their phone won't even ring,
We had it's called like batch ringless voicemail or something at one time. And that's how, everything evolves is like, and that's why the PPL, we're rolling that out. Like as, a technology company, we have to be, moving and innovating with how people are wanting to get new leads.
Yeah.
And we had that. And then texting was huge, as you said.
Huge.
And now, the carriers basically have banned it to where it's virtually impossible to cold text on scale. And I know that was a huge part of what you did. And that was a huge part of our businesses from 2020 to 2022. And we had to pivot off that. And that's just business. Though.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we all saw that coming. Texting getting really, to the point where, like you said, you really can't do it at scale at all anymore, right? No. Like you could, if you're like a little one-man band, you could text and probably get a deal or two.
A couple hundred, a day, but like, I could assume you were sending out 30,000 messages a day.
I think we got to a point where we were doing like 100,000 a day. Yeah, it was wild, bro. Wild. But, and like, and it was great. But at the end of the day, like I knew that was going to come to an end, right? Cold calling still works to a degree.
Yep, and we have a dialer as well. We haven't even mentioned batch dialer, so we have a predictive dialer as well.
Is it a multi-line dialer?
Yeah.
Okay. So multi-line dialer. So literally, batch leads is a one-stop shop. Like people can get in there. They can actually pull the data.
Yep.
They can skip trace the data. They can call the data.
They could push it straight to the batch dialer and have their VAs calling from there as well.
Have
We've
their VAs
really
calling.
created a cool ecosystem to where to just streamline, your workflows to be successful with whatever strategy you're trying to do.
And you could even use it as a CRM, or at least
as you're getting started.
The initial CRM as you're getting started. Maybe when you get bigger, you push the lead over to your other CRM,
right?
Using Zapier or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really cool, right? Because I think the industry right now, or at least for a long time, even me, you have to use all these different vendors, right? It's like, okay, I got to go over here for data, and then I got to go over here to skip trace it, and then I got to go over here to dial it, and then I got to go over here to send direct mail, and I got to go, and it's like you have 10 different places that you're kind of, piecing it all together to run a company, and it makes it a little bit difficult, right?
Yeah, and I feel like, before hopping on the pod here, I kind of got to create and show you kind of the picture of what we've created, and saw you and your partners. You're just like, this is interesting. We could maybe make this a little bit easier for you guys.
For sure, yeah. And I didn't even know you did half of what you did. And you were saying before the show, which is why we're doing the podcast, right? Get it out there to the world, But we were saying before the show, now you got to go out and tell the world what you guys built.
Yeah, we've worked really hard, and we're not what we were 2, 3, 4 years ago, and that's what people still think we are. And I needed to go and really push and show this crazy cool innovation that we have done we call it batch service now. Like we're eventually going to get everything into one URL, and it will just be batch service, and that's where you could do everything.
Yeah.
But we've done some really cool stuff, and we've had an incredible team, really develop a great way for people to streamline their businesses. But back to your original question with, wholesalers and what are you seeing? I guess what I'm seeing is the new people, I think it's a little bit harder to get your first deal. I feel like the new people are giving up a little bit more quickly than they once were because, 2020 through 2022 or, the middle end of 22, I mean, anyone that was interested, you'd lock it up, you'd sell it to a hedge fund, you'd go make some money.
Yep.
That's not the world we're in now. So I've seen a lot of the newer people giving up or struggling a little bit more. The bigger people are having record months.
Yep.
The operations like you, the operations like, Doug Hopkins, Ryan Pineda, a lot of my friends over in CG, they're making more money than they've ever made. So there's still a lot of deals to be done. And I think it's because there's less competition of the new people, or those smaller to medium organizations have shut down or got wiped out, when the market did turn, for that year. And it was really tough to buy and sell, because 2023, I don't know anyone that had it up here, but 2024, people are killing it again, especially the bigger operations.
We're doing really well in 24. We had an average year in 23. We weren't down, we weren't up. We were just kind of flat. Right?
But that's, to a business owner, that's down.
It is down. Yeah. Well, especially with inflation and everything going on in the world. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, which we can talk about a little while about the market, right? But you can't, in the landscape that we're in right now, you can't keep making the same amount of money. Not with the way that inflation is going. You have to consistently be making more money every year. You have to. I think as an entrepreneur, to your point, if you're flat, you're down.
Yeah.
100%. So talk to me about with your unique kind of perspective of the industry for brand new wholesalers, because you mentioned them, right? What do you think, in your opinion, if somebody's watching this, and because I think it'll be interesting to hear from your point of view compared to a lot of the other wholesalers that I interview, right?
Yeah.
Where should a new wholesaler put their time and energy in terms of marketing? If they're brand new and they just want to get to a deal or two a month, should they be cold calling in 2024? Should they be doing ringless voicemail, direct mail? Should they be door knocking? There's all these things out there that they could be doing. Where are you seeing people actually have success?
Are you saying your very first deal, or just getting 1 to 2 months? Because those are two different answers.
Let's just say that they want to do their very first deal.
Very first deal. I think I would go with something similar to what you teach with the agent outreach perspective.
Yep.
Or, in batch leads now we have for sale by owner. Just cutting your teeth those first couple months, not spending a bunch of money for leads, would be calling for sale by owners. And batch leads too, you get in our $99 plan, you get 250,000 free skip traces with that plan. Pick the nichiest, 250 people and just make 250 calls your first month.
Yeah.
And call all the vacant properties in an area that you have some buyers in.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. I'd make some phone calls. I'd do some agent outreach, and I would just understand that it's going to take you 3 to 6 months, depending on, how much outreach that you're doing and how hard you're trying to work it. But a lot of people want to spend an hour or two a week and get a $10,000 check. And that's just
not reality.
It can happen if it's the right time and the right place. I've heard that happen to people, but most people, it's going to take a little bit of time, and you just don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And I was there at one point too. I remember getting like my first deal, and the agent asked me, that's when I found, on market deals. She's like, well, how much do you want to put up for escrow? And I'm like, what's escrow? Like your EMD.
What's the EMD?
What's earnest money
Yeah.
deposit? I'm confused. So you just don't give up. If it's something you really want to do and you want it to be your career, because it changed my life. I know it changed your life as well. And I love real estate. I know I'm not actively doing it like you are, but I'm still a huge part of the industry. And I'm proud to be a part of this space for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And now let's just talk about, since we're on the subject, the guy who's done a couple of deals. He's got, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in the bank. He's done, 3, 4, 5, 10 wholesale deals. But now he's just trying to build a consistent model, right? He's very inconsistent. I see this out there all the time, right? I see almost every wholesaler I talk to, dude, that has been in the game for a year or two, they do deals, but there is no predictability at all, right? Like I see it. Even some of my own students in my own coaching program, I try to coach them and give them all the right information, and they'll have one really good month. They'll do 4 or 5 deals, which is great for them because they don't have a big operation, right? And then the next month they'll do none, right? And then they'll do 4 or 5, and then they'll do 0. What is your advice to somebody like that? Should they start getting more into, cold calling, hiring people? Is it, hey, pull more data, start sending direct mail? Is it maybe now jump into some Google, maybe some PPL? Like, in your kind of opinion, what are you seeing for guys like that to really build that predictability?
That's a good question. I think, because I've seen this too, and normally this happens because they stop prospecting because they're selling all the contracts they have. I would hire a person either to do your acquisitions or dispositions, and I would get that first hire under my belt, because I don't care what marketing channel you do. I don't care if you use us, like if it's direct mail, if it's PPC, if it's cold calling. Make sure that you're prospecting and keeping that pipeline filled up. That's when the problems happen. When you're a one-man shop, you get the deals. Well, now you have to spend time selling them, and you're not keeping your pipeline full for your prospects. I just think, I don't care what strategy it is. It's just whatever you're doing that got you those 4 or 5 deals. Make sure you don't stop doing that when you're trying to sell the deals and deal with, because you're dealing with title, escrow, buyers. Like, you have a lot of shit going on to where you're not doing the prospecting that you were probably doing that month before. So I would say it's your first hire, and have them do what you're not good at. Like if it's AC or dispositions,
such good advice.
Hire that person. Is how I look at it.
No, you're dead accurate. I think I've given the same advice a bunch. It's like, dude, like you're freaking trying to do too much. Like you're a one-man band. Like you're building. I've always kind of explained it with wholesaling in particular that AC and Dispo are really 2 different companies. I mean, you might not set it up that way on paper. It might not like actually be 2 LLCs, but you really are building 2 separate companies. They're totally different, right? Like we have AC, we have Dispo, and we have AC people and we have Dispo people, and they're both completely different. Yes. And what they do all day is completely different. And the systems that we use to make it happen is completely different, right? And so to your point, if you have a bunch of momentum and let's just say acquisitions, and then you pull off the gas to go sell all the deals that you have in the pipe now, what are you not doing? You're not acking more freaking deals. So of course you're going to have a bad month every time you have a good month, right? Because it's just going to be a roller coaster. So you have to, I tell people, Jesse, I say, look, if you're newer to the game, don't even try to build Dispo out of the gate. Just use a Keegley of the world. Use a company like mine.
True.
Call any investor, wherever your local market is, any big wholesaler, and just leverage them to sell your deals. Give them the exclusive. Split it 50-50. If you can negotiate a better deal, negotiate a better deal. Do 70-30, whatever you got to do. And just get good at acquisitions. Get $100 grand, $200 grand in the bank, and then go build the dispositions if you want to.
Yeah. I agree. And I think for that person, though, too, I probably lean more towards you, but it's just where are they better at?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is what I'd recommend.
True.
Because if they're really good at dispo and that's what fills their cup up and they're excited, and I love dispositions.
Yeah.
I didn't like acquisition. I like selling properties. I like building those. That's just my personality. Like I did the dispo when I was wholesaling, but I had 5 acquisition guys with an AC manager because like I would also help close those deals, but that was not my primary role, and that's not what got me excited. What got me excited was, you know, getting a great deal, seeing how much juice I could squeeze out of it, or if it's going to be a good flip for me to do, because I flipped a lot of properties as well. And that's just what excited me. So like I hired the part I didn't want to do, and what didn't get me excited is kind of like how I looked at it. And I think it just depends on, you know, where your strengths and weaknesses lie as that solo entrepreneur when you're getting started.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, dude, Hunter Runyon is a great example. You know Hunter, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he's a great friend of mine. You know, I've known him forever, and he just did dispositions. Like when he met Josiah and Jamil and all them, like he was a dispo guy, right? Like that's how Keegley was born, you know?
Yeah.
Hunter had sold like 80 or 90 deals, I think, at the time. This is like a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
As a solopreneur, just selling deals. So he would just link up with other wholesalers and just sell their deals, right? Like, and that was all he ever did. He never did any AC at all, you know? So I think somebody could do that. In theory, they could start tomorrow. You know, you could go call Robert Winsley or somebody, right? Get Investor Lift. You know, you don't have to have Investor Lift, but it's a good tool, obviously.
Yeah.
And just do dispositions too. Like you could do, but the whole point is, I think in the beginning, pick one or the other, go all in on that until you have enough money in the bank to build to hire out and delegate the other vertical that you have to build.
I think the point we're both trying to make too is you have to keep your acquisition pipeline full, or else you're fucked.
Yep.
Like that is, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care what you like to do at the beginning. That pipeline has to be full.
Yep.
I don't care if you're doing it or someone else is doing it. So I want to be very clear. That is the lifeblood of your business at the beginning.
100%. Yep, I couldn't agree more. And that is the thing I think most people fail at in the beginning, which is why they quit, like to your point that you were saying a minute ago, right? Because they can't figure out a way to keep their pipeline full. And they can't make any progress. They can't get any traction, right? But you know, and I think there's a lot of other reasons and why people, I think wholesaling too as an industry, and I'd love to get your feedback, but like when I look at the industry as a whole, I think overall less people are choosing the career path of like real estate investing and wholesaling, right? Because I think there's so much other shiny crap out there. You know, like we live in a world now where like all the young generation, the people that are, you know, in high school right now and getting older, you know, they're looking at Shopify and Amazon FBA, and there's all these other ways to make money now that there wasn't.
Influencer.
Right. Yeah, being an influencer, getting on social media, TikTok shop, right? Like you hear, there's all these ways that people can make money.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, dude, real estate wholesaling is not as attractive as it once was.
I agree with you. I think a lot more people are wanting to be, you know, just an influencer in general or doing the drop shipping, or there's always like a shiny object. But if you're going to do any of those things, I think real estate's the most valuable thing because it's a great way to create wealth. It's good to learn. It's good to understand.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm thankful that, you know, you got into it at a really early age. I got into it, you know, in my later 20s. And I mean, I couldn't imagine my life without having real estate and being a part of it in it now. And there's other stuff that I'd love to do. And we've talked even about other things, but to my core, like real estate's always, it's just a part of me.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, 90% of every self-made millionaire and billionaire on planet Earth did it through real estate, right?
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can Google it, you know, and there's a reason for that. And I think wholesaling is the stepping stone to everything else in real estate, right? You learn the fundamental skills when you wholesale to then go buy rentals, to then go buy short-term, long-term rentals, develop, buy multifamily, whatever. You're learning how to comp, you're learning how to underwrite, you're learning how to value a property, you're learning what renovation costs are, you're learning all the different things, and then that will carry over into building real indestructible wealth, right?
Yeah, and like now you're working with you know, a bigger syndication deal, and I think my wealth manager actually reached out to you for more information about it. So I have been working on it, but they actually vet and underwrite the deals for me, and it passed, you know, that eye test because I know you're working with a partner and raising some money for a big apartment complex.
Yeah, 220 unit in Arlington.
Texas.
Yeah, Arlington. Yeah, phenomenal area. A couple miles just outside of the city there. 220 units. They're renovating. I think 60 or 70% is the plan. They're adding washer and dryer to 61%, I believe, of the units don't have washer dryer. And they got a great deal on that deal. I'm the co-GP on that deal. And you know, they bought it from a distressed seller, owned like 5 other multifamily units. They quietly came and said, hey, take this from us quietly off market. I think they were in some sort of bridge loan or something. A floating rate, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people got screwed in multifamily, dude.
Oh, I know.
And I think right now, you know, not to get off too much on a tangent here, we can circle back, but I think multifamily over the next couple of years is actually going to be a really great place to park capital, because you can buy a lot of these distressed properties, and as soon as interest rates eventually go back down, prices are going to shoot through the roof, right? The value of that real estate is going to double overnight.
Yeah,
not including all the renovations that you're doing to the unit as well. You know,
yeah, no, I agree, and I wanted to plug this deal for you.
I appreciate that, yeah,
because like my team looks at a lot of deals and they're like, hey, this looks pretty good, and so to anyone that's a accredited investor, learn more information, reach out to Austin. It looks like a pretty solid deal from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I'll put it down below, and then we'll talk more after the show too. I want to talk quickly about, you mentioned you're getting 1,000 new customers a month with Batch, right? Mm-hmm. How are you doing that? You know, like for the people out there, maybe there's a select amount of people probably watching the podcast right now that eventually want to get into, some line of work like what you do, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think is the best way to, when you own a software company like you do, to get out in front of people? Like, what type of marketing are you doing for Batch to get customers? Obviously, you're here on my podcast right now. I'm sure that's one way that you go about it. What are some other ways that you have built Batch into such a large company?
Yeah, I mean, from the jump, it was the affiliate partners and relationships I had, the Pace Morbies, the Jamils, the Brett Daniels. They used us, loved us, promoted us, and were very big coaches and influencers. You've dabbled with us a little bit. I'm excited to have you come on board and be more a part of that. That was a big part of it at the very beginning when we didn't have a big marketing budget. And then we were able to build out a really, really strong marketing team. And I can't even explain it to you because they're so much smarter than me on how the funnels that they build and the analytics that they look at. But a lot of it's, I know the majority of it is through Google, hence why we're PPL experts, and that's a tool that we could use for generating inbound leads too. It's different, but it's the same philosophy. It's the same concepts. You're looking at similar data points. It's just a different industry of acquiring real estate investors versus marketing to property homeowners that want to sell their house. It's
identical,
same but different.
Yep, same but different.
And we have an incredible marketing team. Our CMO is brilliant, and he was able to bring over. Curate. He's been in the industry for a long time, and curate people that he's worked with in the past, got them excited about, working at Batch Service. And we just have a team of killers there on the marketing side, to be honest with you, and good brand awareness and good affiliate stuff. It's kind of all of it in one, but we grew it initially with a small marketing budget. It was really just a viral, like, word of mouth thing. And we just, created a great product that people wanted and kept talking about at the beginning there.
Which is such a phenomenal point. What would your recommendation be then to somebody who might be wanting to eventually own, a software company or something of that effect? Like, how did you build such great relationships with such big names? Like, talk to me about, like, who was it? Was it Jesse Burrell that went out and built the relationships at the Paces and the Jamils and the Austins and the different people? And how do other people duplicate that? How do you replicate that? I mean, how do you get in with the big people of the world and to launch stuff that you've launched?
Yeah, I mean, I was a successful investor, so like I was in those rooms at that time. So if you weren't a big wholesaler, that would be a good question for like Robert Wensley.
Yeah.
Like, how did he do it? Because like I already had the relationships, and then we started building something, on accident, to be honest with you, at the beginning there. So it was just organic friendships that I had with Pace and Jamil and Brent and yourself and Cody and all these guys. They honestly just wanted me to win and were excited for me as well, and they liked and were using the product and making a bunch of money from it as well. It was very just like an organic thing.
Sure.
And that's the only way I've experienced it so far. So like strategically, like I want to get to know people's businesses. I want to see where I could help from what I've learned, and I've always tried to come at it with a place of giving and not expecting anything in return. And if like, I don't really want someone to promote us if they're not using us, because I'm like, that's you're just being an influencer. Like if you don't get it and you're not about it, then like, I don't know.
Yeah. You can't sell something you don't fully believe in. I believe that.
So I was just lucky. As I said, a lot of, our business and the early success we had was right place, right time, right friends. They blew up. Like there's a lot of perfect storm, but we also worked our asses off to build a really awesome product and made sure that we were pouring, gasoline on that fire and reinvesting a ton of our money to make our products stand out from others.
Yeah, which is so cool, man. And I think that, what you did is obviously incredible. And I think a lot of people out there are going to really look up to you and what you built. Talk to me a bit about the future now, right? Like what now? What does Jesse Burrell do now? What's the goal with Batch? Is it to eventually get acquired? What would that look like if so? Is it just to continue to build in cash flow? Is it now like where do you go from here?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we're open to all of it. We're opening to bringing on a strategic or private equity partner in the next couple of years, potentially, if that right opportunity comes along. And right now I'm just really excited about kind of the new offerings we have, building Batch, reintroducing Batch with all the new stuff that we've done. And really, as I said, I want to get, we have 4 different products. I want to get that into batch service and reintroduce, batch leads and batch dialer, batch skip tracing and batch data into batch service. And this is what batch service has to offer the community now. And that's what I'm really excited about and passionate about, the next year or 2 working on.
Sure. Yeah. If you were to ever sell, what would you try to sell for? Like roughly, how did you go about that?
As I said, I don't know. If you were going to sell, you're going to go to an investment banker.
Yep.
And they're basically going to put you onto the market. It's almost similar to putting a house up for sale, just a lot more complex, to where like you interview, investment banks, let's call them agents, you know what I mean? As if you were selling a house, and then you just find the right fit, of people that have worked with, the buyer pool that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're starting to slowly explore and be open to. But at the end of the day, it'd be interesting if the right partner came along. My biggest interest is how do we continue to make an impact to the real estate community and continue to grow our market share, if that's with or without a partner. I just want to do what's best for the company at the end of the day, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's tough too, like being an entrepreneur, a lot of people talk about getting acquired, but then it's like, but then what? Right? Like Jesse has to go do something. He can't just sit on the beach. He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be bored out of your mind, right?
For sure.
After a week or 2, right? It might be fun for a week and a half. What are you doing to kind of like personally even, right? Like what does your investment strategy look like? I'm always curious when I sit down with people, obviously you're building Batch, you're serving the community at a really high level, you're building that company, but Jesse Burrell, where does he put his money? What is he intrigued in, kind of behind the scenes?
Yeah, a lot of it goes back into the business and growing the business. I'm actually in a couple like startups where I cut a couple $50,000 checks of just like, VC funding. And if it pops, you 10-20 exit. If it doesn't, you lose the 50 grand. I have a few of those as well.
Yep.
And then we own our own commercial building, which is 44,000 square feet down in Tempe. And then I just have a couple single family homes.
Talk to me about that commercial building. It's interesting, right? Like, is it only Batch there, or do you rent out different parts of it?
Only Batch downstairs, but it is expensive. And we were going to do like event space upstairs. That turned into like a whole nother business, as you know. And we're just like, So I think we're just going to rent out the upstairs. But we occupy the downstairs space.
When did you get that building?
August of 22.
Did you get a good deal on it?
No.
Really?
We got a good interest rate.
Okay.
But as interest rates go up,
value goes down.
Yep. So like we're probably upside down on what it's worth, but we have a 4.5% interest rate on the building.
Spectacular. Yeah.
So like once we get someone upstairs at market rent, like we'll be okay.
Yeah.
It would be cheaper than us renting that square footage, I guess.
Yeah, because I rent 22,000 square feet. I have 11,000, or we're in about 10,000 here. Wait, is it 10,000 here? Yeah, I think it's 10,000 here. 7,500 square feet in Chandler, and then we have 4,000 square feet or 4,500 in Glendale or Peoria.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're renting 22,000, and I friggin' hate it. I mean, we make the money, and the money, like, it's not a problem. It's just that, I'm spending $75,000 a month on rent. Yeah, but mine's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but your property value didn't go down either during that time. So there's benefits, like the cost segregation and saving some money on taxes was nice, especially when you bought a $9 million building.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like that it's our own space, but I think there's benefits to both sides of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The depreciation's got to be a huge benefit to your situation, though.
It helped taxes in 22 quite a bit, to be honest with you.
For sure. Yeah, no, 100%. And the value will go back up.
For sure.
You just have to hold it.
Yeah.
Because interest rates are going to come down. Let's talk about that for a minute. What do you think? You're in the industry. All the big players. I ask every real estate guy on my show. I have to. I always preface with nobody's got a crystal ball. Unless you have a crystal ball, I'd love to get my hands on it. But what do you think about the market? We're heading into an election. What do you think, in your opinion? And what do you think the next couple of years are going to look like? I know that we've printed a lot of money over the last couple of years. Inflation's through the roof, right? And property values, I mean, anybody that bought a house in 2020, 2021 basically doubled their money doing nothing, at least in markets like Arizona, Vegas, et cetera.
But they also can't move because they can't afford it.
They can't move because they can't afford it, yep, which is a whole nother problem. So what do you think about the market? And do you think that they're going to lower the interest rates? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I'll give you my true candid opinion. And going back to all the money that was printed, I think the next couple of years it's going to be anywhere from 5.5% to 7%. It may go down a little bit, but I don't think it's like inflation's still a problem. We printed more money than we've ever printed in a year and a half than in the last 300 years or whatever. Yeah. So I don't foresee it, but I think the market is stabler, which is good. But as it goes back to, I think we'll continue to have a supply issue because a lot of people that may want to move can't move because they can't afford, a new mortgage, even with all the equity that they're able to rip out of their houses.
Sure.
That's my short answer.
What do you think about the, I've heard a couple of people that know quite a bit, which is something that I've kind of tossed around, but like, okay, say interest rates go back down quite a bit, okay? All the people who are locked in now, who have a bunch of equity, by the way, who are locked in, they can't sell because they don't want to trade out of a 3% into a 7%, right? Say interest rates go back down, in theory, you end up having a lot of supply actually end up hitting the market because now people can trade out of their house into a different one. Yeah. And so then there's kind of the idea that maybe we just kind of flatline for a little while. We don't necessarily go up a ton, but we don't go down a ton because we have all this new supply on the market. Demand kind of stays the same. Yeah. Maybe goes up a little bit because the people who are selling are now buying, but you introduce all that supply. Like, what do you think about that?
I think you're pretty close to accurate. I think I normally have a better idea. Mm-hmm. It's just weird.
It is.
I just don't know. Like we've never experienced printing this much money, so everyone's just speculating. I just don't foresee it going down below 5% in the next year or two.
I don't either.
I just don't.
I think who wins the election will be.
But it doesn't matter. Trump can't force the Fed to do something.
No. No, but I think it's just the American. And who knows?
Biden, I'm sure, wants interest rates lower to make his.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I think they're going to do that. Supposedly, Jerome Powell says it's separate, and
but it's still not going to be enough to where people are going to be super excited. It's not like they're going to lower it from 7 to 5.5 in the next 6 months. It may
come down a quarter, a half, at a time,
at most, before the election, at most.
Yeah, because we're about to be in July.
Exactly.
The time this podcast comes out, we'll be in July, right?
For sure.
So, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I want to talk about, I always ask towards the end of every podcast, personally, right? Because I'm a very curious guy, and I think a lot of other people are that watch me and watch the show. Almost everybody I've interviewed has struggled in one way or the other to have what some people refer to as balance. Other people refer to it as kind of work-life integration, but almost everybody I've interviewed at one point or another has fought the battle of, they're really successful maybe over here, but they're completely dropping the ball over there, whether that be in their relationships, in their health, spiritually, maybe, the relationship with their maker, whoever that might be, and whatever that might look like. How have you, over the years, as you've scaled a company, 175 employees, managed to be married, right? And to be healthy? I know you went from.
We'll talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, when I got started in this industry, I just really got focused on growing that side. And at the same time, I was growing my belly. And, I went from 180 pounds to 250 pounds, and I'm 5'9". So I very much struggled with that balance for a while. And then I woke up one day, I think it was 3 years ago now probably, and I didn't even recognize who I saw in the mirror. And I was just so disappointed in myself because like I felt like I was a good leader at the business and worked hard, but like I always held our employee and our team, everyone, to high standards and be the best version of yourself. I was maybe doing that on the business aspect, but I wasn't disciplined with my eating. I wasn't focusing on, working out and my health. And I really wanted to be that inspiration to the team and be a CEO that people looked up to. And I really worked on changing and finding a better balance between all of it. And it really started with just eating better, being disciplined about that, and being confident and happy with who I was, because I was making all this money, but I was probably the most, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like unfulfilled, maybe?
No, vulnerable I'd ever been with how I feel about myself, because I really didn't like how I looked. I really didn't like how I felt. And I was embarrassed of the person I'd become.
Yeah.
Like on the health side. And I mean, I couldn't even do a lot of things because I was so out of shape.
Yeah.
It's like I made all this money and I can't even enjoy it. So, that was just from working too much. But part of it was just creating bad habits. You create good habits, you create bad habits. I felt like I created a lot of bad eating habits, and I just stopped working out because everything kind of compounds one way or the other. And you're talking about that too, not to the degree that I went, I'm all in or all out.
Yep.
But now it's been, I've probably gained a few pounds back from my all-time low, but I've kept with my discipline to some degree. The eating's not always perfect, but I'm making sure I'm working out 4 or 5 days a week. If I start gaining a few pounds and, get on a deficit with those calories and get back to it. But I had to find a better balance. And what I did was I have a personal trainer come over to me 3 days a week at 4:30. And people are like, why do you work out at night? I was like, because I have to leave work at 4. Then I could turn it off. Then I focus on my health. Then I, spend time with the family now that I have a family, but then I didn't. And that was a big deal for me dude, you got to shut it off and you got to take care of yourself.
Why do you think so many entrepreneurs struggle to do it all, if you will, like quote unquote, right? Like we hear the concept, like do it all, make a lot of money, have great relationships, be in great shape, have a great relationship with your maker, whatever it might be, right? Like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. So many entrepreneurs struggle to actually be, like if you were to rank each one on a scale of 1 to 10, to be even a 7 or an 8 in every area. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they're an 8 in one area and a 2 in the other.
Because I think it's almost impossible to be like, let's use Tom Brady for an example. Look what happened with his family life because of the greatness that he wanted to have.
Yeah. I'm always curious at the end, what does the day look like for you today, being an 8-9 figure entrepreneur, right? Like having a very successful company. What does an average day look like?
Yeah. It's a little bit different than it used to be. And that's where I try and focus on balance. I try to get, my son gets up at like 7:30. I try to spend like an hour with him till 8:30. I try to get to work by 9. I try and lock in at work from 9 to 4 and then come home, work out. Then family time for the rest of the night. I live a pretty simple life, and then weekends I sprinkle in a little bit of golf and pickleball, and that's about it. To be honest with you, like it's not a complicated life.
Yeah, I love that. No, and then you don't go to the office on the weekend, correct?
Yep.
No. Did you ever at one point?
Oh yeah.
When you're building?
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot more people. It's became more corporate too, to where it's a Monday through Friday job for most people. Now, if I'm going to an event or, as I said, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more time to, spending time with people like you and going to more events. So like that will create a little bit more hecticness in my life at nights and weekends and stuff like that. Yeah. But dude, I'm excited with all the stuff that we've been doing, and I want to go tell everyone about it. So like, I'm pumped to do some of that stuff right now.
That's super cool, man. All right, final question for you. If you could tell the whole world one thing, maybe you have a billboard or something of that effect. Everybody, 7.5 billion people, 8 billion people could see it. One piece of life advice, it could be business advice, relationship advice, one thing that you would want everybody to know, what would that thing be?
So like a quote?
Yeah, it could be a quote, a thing that you've learned over the years. You've done a lot. You're extremely successful. What's one thing that you've kind of learned that you've lived by that is like, man, like if everybody knew this one thing, like they'd be better off.
Oh, what's the quote after? There's like one quote that I just like live by, and I can't remember it, so I don't live by it that much. Like what comes to mind first is like, how you do anything is how you do everything. That's how I've always been. And like when I want to do a shitty workout, I'm like, how you do anything is how you do everything. If I quit my workout early, what makes me not quit this thing that I'm working on at home, or quitting on trying to teach my son this new thing? I try and live by that to some degree. Is like if how you do anything is how you do everything. And I feel like if you're putting maximum effort towards something, or if you're fully engaged in the place and conversation that you're in, I feel like how you do anything is how you do everything, because it really shows the habits and type of person that you are. And that's kind of like something that I've always lived by, I guess.
I love that. Yeah. I used to say, I'm going to make my friggin' bed like a champion. I'm going to brush my teeth like a champion. I'm going to do everything like a champion, because I wanted to be a champion. I wanted to freaking be, I wanted to be somebody, right? And I lived by that for I still to this day, obviously. But I mean, I really took it to heart for a long time.
Oh, I saw your come up, and I saw you 6-7 years ago, and you were this new guy on social media and making waves, and it was fun to see. And I'm going to build the biggest real estate agent team. And everyone's like, this kid's an idiot. What is he talking about? He hasn't even sold a deal yet. And look at it now. He has the biggest team
Number
in
one
Arizona?
Team in Arizona.
Weird how you manifested that, huh?
100%. Yeah. You just have to be crazy enough to believe it, dude. I really believe that. I'm a huge believer. Anybody watching the podcast right now, it doesn't matter. Like, dude, I have a lisp. I can't pronounce my S's. I didn't go to college. I didn't do good in high school. I grew up in my grandparents' garage. I've never raised capital for anything. I'm 100% bootstrapped every company I've ever built, and I've failed more than I've succeeded.
Yep.
And I had everything working against me. You know what I mean? But I believed that I could be somebody, and that's all you have to have. If you believe it and you're willing to work for it, you can do it.
The second part,
yeah, of course.
you need the first part.
Believe. Yeah. If you just believe and do nothing, you're not going to make it.
But you have truly worked your ass off for 10 years plus now of like really, and it's like you have to believe, because like most people, one, when you're new, they're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. And two, most people just don't have the faith in, I guess, the chutzpah to really just go do it. And a lot of people are going to tell you you're not going to do it. When I started wholesaling, it was the same thing. They're like, what are you doing? You're not going to do this. This is stupid. Like, no way you're making that money. Yeah. No way you're going to be able to go make $1 million. I'm like, well, I'm just going to go do that. Like, no, you're not. Like, fuck you. Yep. Watch me. I've always been a chip person too. Like a lot of people, I didn't do great in high school. I graduated with a 2.0. I didn't even walk. I graduated like a half a year late. It took me 8 years to graduate college. I was that fuck up to all my friends. And I was like, you guys, I'm going to do something. And they're just, they wrote me off. And I was like, now those guys come to me for advice.
Yeah, they have corporate jobs, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of them, they probably make, 70, 80 grand a year. And
a little more than that, but
maybe more, but not as much, not what you built.
Oh, no.
Because it normally is the crazy guy, right? Or the girl, right? The person who, just has a chip on their shoulder. They're freaking naive. They think they can take on the world. They dream big. Those are the people that change the world. Yeah. Right?
And like me and Evo, when we were growing batch, like 2020, 21, 22, I would go in every day and say, why not us? I look at them, why not us? Why can't we go build a $100 million, $1 billion company? Like, what makes that other company? Who are those guys? And why not us? Like, I would go in every single day and ask them that question for like 2 years.
Wow.
I should actually go do that today.
Powerful.
I should call them. Why not us?
Why not us? I think you can do it, dude. I think you can do the billion, the big B, you know?
Be a lot of work, but as I just said, why not us?
Why not you?
If you put the work in, you put the right people around you, you partner with the right people.
Yep.
I mean, you could do it, and so can you guys.
Yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going for the B, you know? And I'm not going to stop till I get there.
I love it.
I love it, dude. Where can people find you?
Not a huge social media guy. I'm not Austin Zaback, but Jesse Burrell, just my first and last name. Instagram, that would probably be the one place you would be able to message me or find me, or if you have any questions about, our products or just questions about entrepreneurship. I check my DMs. I'll respond to you. So that's the best way to probably get a hold of me.
Awesome. And then I'll put the link for Batch and everything. It'll be the first link in the description down below. So for anybody who wants to go check it out, click the description down below on YouTube, Spotify podcast. We'll have it in there for you. Awesome. Appreciate you being on, Jesse.